Dear Libra. What if I told you that the 5 most sacred gifts of your soul were never lost, only waiting for you to remember? Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. This is not just a reading, this is a divine moment of reflection, reunion, and realignment. You didn't land here by chance. Something deeper called you. Maybe it was a dream, maybe a quiet pull in your heart. Or maybe, just maybe, you've been waiting for someone to finally say the truth your soul already knows. You, Libra, were not made to blend in. You were born to bring balance into a world spinning too fast, to speak calm into chaos, and to awaken beauty where it had been forgotten. And today, I'm here to guide you through a deeply personal journey, not of predictions, but of remembrance. The 5 gifts we'll explore are not skills you must acquire, they are soul codes you were born with. But life, expectations, and fear may have buried them under layers of compromise, people-pleasing, or silence. So in the next few minutes, I invite you to lean in, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Let's be honest, dear Libra, have you been feeling like you've had to choose between peace and truth? Between harmony and your own voice? The truth is, you were never meant to choose. You were meant to be both the silence that heals and the truth that liberates. And that's why the universe guided you here. To remember your sacred balance. To recognize your inner compass. To reclaim your intuitive justice, the kind no one can distort. Because it doesn't come from logic, it comes from the soul. Let me also take a moment to express my deepest gratitude for your presence. Every like, every comment, every time you subscribe and come back to this channel, you are not just supporting a video, you are activating your own transformation. And trust me when I say this, your support is the reason we can continue offering soul-led guidance, week after week. Thank you for being a part of this sacred space. And Libra, trust me, you will want to stay until the very end of today's video. Because the final gift, it doesn't just describe you, it awakens something ancient within you that may shift how you walk through the rest of your life. Before we dive in, I want to ask you one important question, not for me, but for your own soul. What did you do consciously or not to draw this message to you today? That question alone holds a portal. And if you feel something stirring in your heart, I invite you to pause and comment below with the sacred number 888, a sign of divine alignment, inner justice, and the power of conscious rebirth. Let that be your soul's quiet yes. Now take a deep breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Because what we're about to unlock together is not just a reminder. It's a return. And once you remember who you are, there is no going back. Shall we begin? Have you ever noticed that when chaos surrounds you, you don't automatically take sides, you pause, observe, and listen? It's not hesitation. It's not indecision. It's a sacred instinct, deeply encoded in your Libra soul. While others rush to defend one truth over another, you quietly hold space for both, seeking not who is right, but what is just. You're not confused or recalibrated to sense nuance, to understand that life is rarely black or white. This quiet gift of balance is not something you acquired. It was born with you. The energy of Libra is ruled by Venus, the planet of love, harmony, and beauty. But the kind of beauty you bring into the world isn't only about aesthetics, it's about equilibrium. You are a walking compass, calibrated to the unseen rhythms of fairness, justice, and emotional intelligence. You don't just want peace, you are peace, when you are centered. That's why people often come to you in times of conflict. Even when they don't realize it, they're drawn to your ability to hold contradictions without collapsing. To you, balance isn't passive, it's an active, intentional way of being that quietly transforms everything around you. In the tarot, your energy is represented by the Justice card, a symbol of clarity, moral truth, and spiritual accountability. But unlike cold legal systems or external judgments, your version of justice is internal. It's felt in the body. It whispers through your intuition. You don't need a courtroom to sense when something is out of alignment. You can feel it before words are even spoken. That feeling? That's your compass. That's your gift. But having this gift doesn't mean life is easy. In fact, it often feels like a burden. Carrying the weight of both sides, trying to be the one who keeps things in harmony, can drain you if you don't also create boundaries. That's why honoring your own emotional rhythms is non-negotiable. The harmony you offer others must begin with the harmony you offer yourself. You can't pour peace into a room if you're empty inside. You can't carry everyone's truth and forget your own. Learning to hold space within yourself for your sadness and your joy, your clarity and your confusion is part of what makes you whole. So instead of trying to make a quick decision or fix everything instantly, try this. Each morning, take 10 quiet minutes with yourself. No distractions. No judgment. Just breath and stillness. Ask your inner compass how it's feeling, and listen without trying to fix it. That simple practice will help realign you with your sacred balance, the kind of balance that isn't about keeping everyone happy, but about keeping yourself honest. Because only when you're rooted in your own center can you offer true fairness to the world. There's a deeper reason this gift was placed in you. Not to be the mediator of everyone's chaos, but to be a mirror of alignment. You were designed to model what it looks like to respond from awareness instead of reaction, to live from intention instead of impulse. And while the world may not always appreciate the way you hold the middle ground, the truth is, middle ground is sacred ground. It's where truth rises. It's where peace is made. It's where healing begins. And in the quiet stillness of that middle space, something greater than logic is speaking through you. You may not call it divine, but it is guiding you. Some call it grace, others call it truth. I like to think of it as the part of you that remembers what really matters when everything else is pulling you off balance. That part of you, Libra, is always there. Quiet. Calm. Powerful. Waiting to be trusted again. There's something quietly magnetic about you, Libra, that no one can quite put into words, and yet, they feel it the moment you enter the room. It's not loud. It's not demanding. But it lingers, like a soft fragrance in the air or the warmth of sunlight through sheer curtains. This is not charisma in the traditional sense. It's resonance. You carry a frequency of beauty that goes far beyond appearance. It radiates from your energy field, shaped by your gentleness, your presence, your care. That is your second sacred gift, the gift of soul-level beauty, a healing energy that doesn't announce itself, but leaves everything better than it found it. Your connection to Venus isn't only about harmony and aesthetics. It's about the ability to create a kind of emotional ecosystem around you, one where people feel safe, seen, and softened. You hold space not just with words but with tone, with rhythm, with silence that nurtures rather than demands. In a world that often equates power with volume, your softness becomes revolutionary. It's your way of saying, there is another way to move through this life and it begins with grace. The Empress in Tarot mirrors this perfectly. She doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't shout, she embodies. And what she embodies is creativity, abundance, and unconditional nurture. When you embody your own Empress energy, you step into a state where your mere being becomes a blessing to others. You don't need to overperform or prove your worth. You are the medicine. But this doesn't mean you've had an easy path. In fact, people with this gift often face misunderstanding. Your tenderness may have been mistaken for weakness. Your need for beauty and serenity may have been dismissed as vanity or avoidance. But make no mistake, your craving for harmony is not about escaping discomfort. It's about choosing environments where healing becomes possible. You are a reminder that softness is not the absence of strength, it is strength refined. In practical terms, this gift calls you into sacred self-responsibility. When your energy is what others draw from, your well must be full. That's why self-care is not optional for youth survival. And not just surface-level care, but intentional, nourishing rituals, skin that breathes, breath that grounds, and moments of solitude where you write, reflect, and restore. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's service. Because the more you glow from within, the more you become a lighthouse for others who are lost in the fog of a chaotic world. There's a simple truth you may already know in your heart: you don't need to harden to be taken seriously. You don't need to become louder to be heard. You don't need to be anyone other than who you already are to attract what is meant for you. The right opportunities, the right people, the right spaces, they all respond to the vibration you emit. So why not make that vibration one of softness, steadiness, and soul? And if ever you doubt the value of what you bring, just remember this: real beauty never shouts. It doesn't fight for attention. It simply exists in its truth, and that truth changes everything it touches. When you let your essence lead, you make the world more livable, more breathable, more bearable. As someone once said in quiet wisdom, you were not created to be consumed by chaos, but to calm it. In this, your gift is both an offering and a mirror, showing others what it looks like to lead with presence, to soothe without needing to fix, to transform through gentleness. Don't underestimate how powerful that truly is. You might not even remember the first time you stepped in to calm a storm that wasn't yours. Maybe it was as a child, sensing tension between adults and instinctively softening your voice, your body, your presence, hoping to make peace where words were failing. No one taught you how to do this. It wasn't modeled. But something in you just knew. That knowing didn't come from a textbook or even from experience. It came from within, from a deep-rooted awareness that chaos could be calmed, that energy could be redirected, and that peace was possible even when it felt impossible. That is your third sacred gift, the ability to harmonize conflict, not by avoiding it, but by transmuting it into clarity and understanding. People often misunderstand this ability, thinking of it as people-pleasing or passivity. But that couldn't be further from the truth. What you do hat you feel is so much more refined than simply keeping the peace. You sense undercurrents that others miss. You pick up on tone, energy, facial expression, body language. You anticipate the emotional landscape before anyone says a word. That's not strategy. That's intuition shaped by empathy. That's energetic intelligence. And while it might be invisible, it is anything but weak. It is a quiet power that can shift an entire room without anyone realizing what just happened. In astrology, this gift connects directly to your Libra nature and your ruling planet Venus, but it also speaks to a deeper cosmic design. You were made to feel resonance where others feel division. The corresponding tarot archetype for this gift is Temperance, the card of inner alchemy, of water and fire coexisting, of moderation and understanding. It is the reminder that some of the most powerful forms of healing happen not through confrontation, but through presence. Not through words, but through listening. Not through proving, but through choosing peace again and again. But here's the part most people don't see. While you're busy being the emotional anchor for others, it's easy to lose sight of your own center. You give so much stability, perspective, even emotional shelter that you forget to create space for yourself. You forget that you, too, deserve peace. You, too, deserve someone to hold space for you. That's why boundaries are essential, not because you're selfish, but because you're sacred. When you constantly carry the emotional weight of others without protection, you dilute the power of your gift. But when you learn to protect your own energy by stepping away when needed, by saying no without guilt, by taking rest without apology, you return to your power. And when you're in your power, the peace you radiate becomes sustainable, not sacrificial. If you've ever wondered why you seem to attract emotionally intense situations, or why people often open up to you out of nowhere, this is why. You're not doing anything wrong. In fact, you're doing exactly what you were designed to do, but now it's time to do it consciously. With care. With wisdom. With discernment. And most of all, with compassion for yourself. There's an old truth passed down for generations, not just in spiritual texts, but in the quiet wisdom of lived experience. You can't pour from an empty cup. And the world doesn't need a burnt-out peacemaker. It needs you whole. It needs your clarity. Your balance. Your boundary. That's how real healing happens. And when you allow yourself to step back, to breathe, to center, you don't stop being the healer. You become the healing itself. If you've ever carried someone's pain without knowing how or why, share it with us in the comments. Your story is not a weight. It's a doorway. And your ability to make peace, even when you're in pieces, is proof of the rare and beautiful soul you carry. Some say you hesitate too long, Libra, as if pausing to weigh a decision is a flaw. But what they don't realize is that you're not just choosing between options. You're sensing the ripple effect of each path. You're feeling into the outcome not only for yourself but for everyone involved. That's not indecision. That's soul-level discernment. You weren't made to react, you were made to respond, thoughtfully and gracefully. This is your fourth sacred gift, the gift of elegant decision, where choice becomes an act of quiet mastery rather than hurried momentum. Unlike many signs that leap forward with fire or push through with force, your process is a subtle art form. You move in harmony with what's unseen, guided by an inner compass that doesn't shout but hums with intuitive wisdom. It's why you can hold tension without breaking, why you take your time not because you're afraid but because you understand that some choices are too sacred to rush. Your decisions come from the soul, not the ego. They are not about being right. They are about staying in right alignment. The tarot archetype that mirrors this gift is the Two of Swords, an image of stillness, of internal listening, of standing at a crossroads and allowing silence to speak before action is taken. This card often shows a figure blindfolded, not because they're lost, but because they're turning inward for clarity. That's you, Libra. Your strength is not in the speed of your answer, but in the sincerity of your reflection. Numerology supports this wisdom too. The numbers 2 and 6 are both deeply connected to your Libra frequency. 2 speaks of duality, harmony, partnership. 6 speaks of care, devotion, and soulful service. Together, they echo your instinct to choose from love, not lack. To act from balance, not pressure. But let's be honest, this gift can feel exhausting in a world that demands instant answers. When choices pile up and decisions press in, you may find yourself overwhelmed, not by indecision, but by overstimulation. The world's noise can drown out your inner voice if you don't make space for it. That's why you must create habits of clarity. Journaling your thoughts can help declutter your mind. Setting limits on what you take responsibility for can preserve your energy. Giving yourself permission to delay decisions until they feel right is not only okay, it's necessary. In practical terms, this gift becomes especially powerful when applied to your finances, relationships, and creative pursuits. When tempted to chase what looks shiny and fast, you have the ability to ask, will this still matter 5 years from now? That question alone shifts everything. You're not here to chase trends, you're here to build value. You don't invest lightly, whether it's your time, your money, or your love. And when you do commit, it's with your whole being. That level of intention is rare. It's why your impact lasts. There's also a gentle reminder from timeless wisdom that you might hold in your heart, even if you've never said it aloud. When you honor peace within, you help create peace without. Decisions made from fear never bear the fruit of joy. But when you choose with grace, even through uncertainty, the outcome always carries a deeper kind of beauty, one that blesses more than just yourself. So the next time someone says you're taking too long, smile quietly. They don't know the care you're putting into protecting what's real. They don't hear the prayers behind your pause. And they certainly don't understand the legacy you're building, one thoughtful, elegant decision at a time. Sometimes the deepest truths aren't spoken, they're felt. You know that, Libra, in a way that's hard to explain but impossible to deny. There's something in you, almost like a silent compass, that starts spinning the moment something isn't right. It doesn't need evidence. It doesn't wait for proof. It simply knows. This knowing, this unwavering inner sense of justice is not something you've learned. It is something you are. And of all the gifts you carry, this one may be the most sacred of all, the gift of inner justice, a moral compass that cannot be distorted, not even under pressure. Your sign is often symbolized by scales, but this isn't about the scales of law, it's about balance in truth. Not external fairness shaped by rules, but internal clarity shaped by conscience. While others debate the gray areas, you feel truth before the conversation even begins. It hums in your body. It shows up in how your heart races when something's off, or how your chest tightens when someone's not being honest. It's not just intuition, it's alignment. And when you honor that, when you let that quiet truth guide you instead of silencing it to keep the peace, your entire reality begins to shift. In the tarot, this part of you is beautifully echoed in the High Priestess. She doesn't chase answers. She listens. She doesn't prove her truth. She embodies it. This card reminds us that the clearest guidance rarely comes from outside, it rises from within. Just like your gift. And yet, this level of discernment can feel isolating. Because not everyone is ready to live that honestly. Sometimes people will misunderstand your silence, your refusal to conform, or your unwillingness to compromise. But here's what I want you to remember: being misunderstood doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means you're ahead of your time. Living in alignment with your inner justice doesn't always look like big, dramatic choices. Often, it's in the quiet moments, choosing not to gossip when others do, walking away from something that doesn't feel true even when it looks good on paper, or honoring your boundaries even when it disappoints someone else. These are the moments that strengthen your moral core. These are the places where your gift gets rooted deeper into who you are. Energetically, the law of attraction responds not just to what you want, but to what you stand for. When your energy is clear and your values are unwavering, you emit a frequency that attracts people and situations aligned with your integrity. And just as powerfully, that same frequency repels anything that's false, manipulative, or out of alignment. That's not rejection, that's protection. That's your inner justice doing its sacred work. If you've never named those non-negotiable values before, now might be the time. Write down 3 principles that define who you are when no one is watching. Let them be your anchor. Let them be the quiet force that shapes your decisions, your relationships, your voice. You don't need to broadcast them. You just need to live them. And when you do, you become a source of clarity for others 7 if they don't fully understand you at first. There's something beautifully powerful in living this way. It doesn't require a stage. It doesn't beg to be acknowledged. But make no mistake, it changes lives. It changes your life. And slowly, almost invisibly, it changes the world around you. You weren't born to compromise your inner truth for the comfort of others. You were born to show what it looks like when someone dares to live in full alignment. You don't need to be understood. You just need to be whole. ChatGPT NOI. Maybe now, after everything we've explored together, you feel something gently waking up inside you. Not a loud transformation, but a quiet recognition or remembering. Because the truth is, you've never been lost. You were simply layered beneath expectations, noise, and distractions that made you forget how powerful, how beautiful, and how intentional your existence truly is. These 5 sacred gifts you carry, Libra, are not given at random. They are not abstract traits or flattering ideas. They are instructions. They are sacred architecture. They are the design of your soul, timeless, resilient, and rare. You are not here by accident. And you are not lacking anything. The world may have taught you to second-guess your truth, to soften your light so others feel more comfortable, to hold your voice until it's safe to speak, but none of that was ever your true nature. You were not born to chase acceptance. You were born to embody alignment. And when you live in alignment with your inner truth, you don't just find peace, you become it. Can you imagine what your life might look like if you honored your energy first? If you chose beauty that nourishes, boundaries that protect, silence that restores, and decisions that reflect your deepest values? What would shift? What would soften? What would fall into place without the need to force or control? Maybe the real question isn't whether you have these gifts, but whether you're willing to live by them now without apology, without delay. The universe has already said yes to you. It's been saying yes since the beginning. So why are you still waiting for someone else's permission? Let today be a turning point, not because something dramatic happened, but because you decided to remember. To act. To align. And let that alignment be your compass going forward. If even one line from this message echoed in your chest like truth, then trust that it was meant for you. Trust that you're already on your path, and that every step you take in integrity is a declaration to the universe, I remember who I am. So here's your gentle invitation, from my heart to yours. Don't let this be just another video you watch and forget. Let it be the moment you choose to come home to yourself. Practice what you've received here. Write down the 5 gifts. Reflect on where you've lived them, and where you've silenced them. And if you're ready to live from that place, if you're ready to become the gift that you are, then I invite you to leave a comment below and say, I am the gift the universe sent to this world. That one sentence is more than a phrase. It's a vibration. It's a shift. It's you claiming your place. And if this message stirred something inside you, please consider subscribing to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, where every video is a sacred doorway, an opportunity to reconnect with the truth, the depth, and the magic of who you've always been. Thank you for being here. Thank you for holding space with me. Your presence means more than you know. And I hope, from this moment forward, you walk with the quiet certainty that you were never missing anything. You've been the gift all along.